All right, let's talk about something that's been getting some buzz recently, the NBA and their reported dip in ratings. I mean, we're talking an 18% drop year over year, and since 2011, the league's average viewership has plummeted by nearly 40%. For a league that's brought us unforgettable moments, legendary rivalries, and some of the greatest athletes of all time, it's surprising to see this trend. So, what's going on here? There's a lot to unpack, so let's dive in. Okay, so first, let's look at the numbers. The NBA hit its peak viewership back in the 90s during the Michael Jordan era, with an average of 3.1 million viewers per game reported. That's huge. But since then, it's been a roller coaster. The early 2000s brought TV deals with ESPN and TNT, but they didn't exactly skyrocket viewership. In fact, by the 2006 season, it had dipped to just 1.52 million per game. Things picked up in the early 2010s, thanks to LeBron joining the Miami Heat. Those years brought the most watched seasons since the 90s, averaging 2.51 million viewers in 2010 and 2011. But here's where it gets rough. The 2020s have seen another decline. Sure, you could blame some of that on the pandemic-shortened seasons, but even with things back to normal, the gap between the NBA and other sports is considerable. Just look at the numbers out of the top 100 most watched TV programs in 2024. 45 of those were NFL games. The NBA, only 4, and those were all NBA Finals games. Even Major League Baseball's World Series outperformed the NBA Finals. All right, now that we've set the stage, let's dig into why this might be happening. One big factor? The NBA's focus on star players. Don't get me wrong, we all love watching LeBron, Steph, and Giannis do their thing. But here's the issue. There are only so many marquee names to go around. When the league leans so heavily on a few stars, it leaves some teams without any big names to draw in viewers. Sure, a LeBron versus Giannis matchup will pull in numbers, but what about when it's a game between two teams with no superstars? It's hard to keep fans engaged when only a handful of players can really move the needle. And let's not forget about the whole super team era. Players jumping from team to team, chasing rings or big contracts, has made it tough to build those classic rivalries we saw in the 80s and 90s. Back then, fans knew their favorite players were sticking with their team. Now, it's a revolving door. And while you can't blame players for wanting more money or a better shot at a title, it does make it harder for casual fans to stay invested. And then there's another hot topic, load management. Back in the day, players like Michael Jordan and Karl Malone were suiting up every night. Now, it's not uncommon to see stars sitting out games to preserve their health. The NBA introduced a player participation policy in 2023 to try and curb this, especially for nationally televised games. It's helped a little, but fans are still frustrated. If you're shelling out big bucks to see a game live or tuning in for a marquee matchup, you want to see the stars play, not sit on the bench. We also need to talk about the style of play. The game today is a lot less physical than it was in the 80s and 90s. Players are quicker to complain to refs about fouls, and while you can get a technical foul for flopping now, it still remains a controversial rule that is very subjective. On the other side, today's players are arguably more athletic, bigger, and stronger than ever. But with the emphasis on analytics and three-point shooting, some fans feel the game has lost a bit of its soul. Also, consider this. In 1995, teams averaged 15.3 three-point attempts per game. Now, fast forward to 2020, and that number has skyrocketed to 37.5 attempts. While this shift has its merits and is driven by data analytics, it can also lead to games that feel repetitive, just a lot of threes going up and not much else. Okay, now let's zoom out for a second. The NBA isn't just competing against other sports, it's battling for attention in a world full of distractions. The timing of the NBA season doesn't help either. It overlaps with the NFL and college football, both of which dominate viewership. Just look at Christmas Day 2024. The NBA averaged 5.25 million viewers per game. Not bad, right? But the NFL's Christmas games? They pulled in an average of 24 million viewers. That's a tough act to compete with. And it's not just sports. Streaming platforms, video games, and social media, there are more entertainment options than ever before. The NBA is fighting for a slice of an increasingly crowded pie. So, where does the NBA go from here? It's a tough question. The league has to strike a balance between preserving the traditions that made it great and evolving to attract new fans. Maybe that means limiting load management even further, or finding ways to market more teams instead of just individual stars. Whatever the solution, one thing's for sure. Fans deserve a product that's exciting, consistent, and worth their time. What do you think? How can the NBA bring back the magic and get more people tuning in again? Let us know in the comments. And hey, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. We've got plenty more sports analysis and history coming your way, so stick around. Thanks for watching.